Joining me now, Lieutenant Colonel James Carafano. He is the Vice President for National Security and Foreign Policy at the Heritage Foundation, which needs no introduction on this show. What that means is the guy's really freaking smart and knows about all the people trying to kill us. Colonel, let's focus on China for the time being, because I feel like people really do not understand how aggressively they are already here.
Yeah, I don't know if they're trying to kill us, but they don't wish us well. Look, this is an easy way to explain this. The United States, other countries kind of like the United States, for all our differences, and even within what do we believe in? I mean, fundamentally, we believe in freely elected governments. We believe in human rights. We believe in free enterprise. Chinese Communist Party, they don't believe in any of those things. Matter of fact, they see those things as a specific obstacle to the expansion of Chinese power. And the short explanation here is look, if the free world doesn't stand up for the fundamental things we believe in, the Chinese are going to find a way to undermine them and shortchange them, because that's what they want. I mean, I think it's really just that simple.
Are we winning or are we losing in this? I don't even know if you want to call it a Cold War with China. Where are we at in it?
Well, I like the term Cold War from the perspective that this is a long-term competition, right? The Chinese don't want to have a war with us. We certainly don't want to have a war with them. So that, in that sense, the Cold War makes sense. But this is completely different. They're totally different than the Soviet Union. We're a different country than we are now. Other countries are different. So we need ways to compete with them that make sense for today, not make sense for 30, 40 years ago. If you had asked me this question 4 years ago, I would have said we were in real trouble. Because 4 years ago, fundamentally, our strategy was unchanged for like 20 years, which was, look, as China rises, they'll probably be okay. They'll come around. They'll be vested in the system. They'll be one of us. It'll all kind of even out. That's not how the Chinese saw it. They saw the Chinese, by us not challenging back, not pushing back against them coming after our interests, as basically giving them open running to run over the neighborhood. It's like the cops giving the mafia space to be in the neighborhood. The mafia just move in and take over. 4 years ago, we really flipped our strategy on our head. And we said, look, instead of trying to accommodate China, let's challenge them specifically on where they're bumping up against our interests and our concerns and what's good for us. And that's actually a better way to get to stability, by showing them where the limits where they are. So I actually think we've made progress the last 4 years.
Okay. What specifically did we do? What does that mean, giving them a little pushback?
Well, I mean, we could go on and on and on. Trade, for example, where the president was really tough on the Chinese, pushing back on intellectual property theft, on unfair trading practices. South China Seas were an area of contention where for decades the United States position was, we don't take sides here. Everybody's got claims in the South China Seas. We get that. China used that as an excuse to really club the other countries in the region in submission. We flipped that strategy on its head. Not only do we do freedom of navigation acts where we show, hey, these are really open waterways, but we've actually sided with the other countries against China. Support for Taiwan, which this administration has been very consistent on. So political, military, economic, diplomatic, in each of those fields where the Chinese are stepping over the line, we've seen this administration start to push back. And when I say this administration, I don't want to make it seem like, it's just one side. I think this is bipartisan. As much as everybody in Washington would hate to admit it, everybody gets that being weak on China and letting them run rampant, not a good idea. I think everybody is for pushing back and defending our own equities, our own rights, and our own liberties.
You mentioned earlier that this is not like Russia, because undoubtedly anybody of a certain age is going to think this is just like Russia. This is just like the Cold War. Why isn't it like Russia? What makes this different than what we went through with the Soviet Union?
Well, a couple of things. The Soviet Union was largely a military power and nothing else. And it was largely self-sustaining because it had an iron grip on all of Eastern Europe, and it just essentially used resource extraction to fund the Soviet Empire. And we did almost nothing with them. We didn't engage with them politically, economically, diplomatically. China's completely different. China is a dramatic economic power. As a matter of fact, they're a stronger economic power, arguably, than a military power. We do lots of business with China. Everybody does lots of business with China. We have Chinese students here. We have Chinese researchers, engineers here. We have Chinese businessmen here. So the countries are much more intertwined, and that impacts on both sides. You know, for example, if China wants to come after us economically, the first thing that does is damage China because we're one of their biggest customers, which is one of the reasons why the president could actually pressure them on a trade deal. So it's like when you were in high school, you old to know Pinto. I don't know if they make Pintos anymore. They don't, fine. But you're grown up now. You own a Mercedes Benz. You don't treat that car. You don't do maintenance. You don't the way you did when you owned an old junker. I mean, so it's a different world, and we need things that make sense in this world.